my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me in. Yeah.
I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that.
He had to slip down all the way into turn one and it's breaking it down.
And all these fans gonna tell you what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my phone. So finally back in my home. I'm
Still after the start of this safety car. Do we have one later on? So it'll be just about
keep me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap and almost banging wheels.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Welcome to round 3. Welcome, folks, to Zandvoort, where the ATK Pro Series continues, and what a track to do so on. Of course, this event brought to you by Kyalami 9-hour MSA, Assetto Corsa, and of course, ATK. And this track is just sensational. Wait till you guys get a load of what is going to be happening this weekend. I expect lots of action. I expect lots and lots of good close racing. And I expect the season to continue in absolutely spectacular form as we now head to the Pro-Am event, which will be happening very shortly. Of course, this week, I'm joined by none other than the man that's been traveling around the world with various forms of motorsport. You've seen it all when it comes to circuits, Marius. You've traveled the world with your job. Marius Roberts, welcome to round 3, my friend.
Listen, can we just shed a little tear? No Tasman Pepper, no one to beautify the commentary, no one with like real international racing credentials. We'll let her off. She can listen to the professional work.
Yeah, let's show her how it's done.
No, but listen, it's one of the circuits that we've got to drive on so many of them, and Zandvoort isn't, unfortunately, on that list. But, having a look at it, I fall in love with the old layouts of tracks that the risk reward is something that a driver's got to consider always. And this is that circuit. It's narrow, it's fast, there's commitment, there is zero runoff. So make a mistake here, you're going to be plugging a dike or you're going to get buried in a sand dune, because this is Holland after all. But I mean, literally, it's a tricky circuit. And I think the guys are going to really struggle going door to door, not many overtaking opportunities. And when you do decide to go for it, it's going to have to be a committed move. So I think Jonathan Bentz is going to be very, very busy as he join us technically, but obviously also looking after all the incidents. So I think you're going to have a busy day today, Jonathan.
Well, I really hope not, But guys, it's so good to be back after a week off. I mean, how bored were we last weekend, right?
Time flies, when you're doing racing. Sitting at home with
guys, I must be honest, I haven't been bored. I've been doing a couple of laps on the sim myself, going around this circuit. And Jonathan, I'm scared for these guys, man. This circuit does not suffer fools. One mistake here, and you are losing positions.
This is a really hard circuit. I myself struggle a bit with it, and I think it's one of the old school circuits. There's pretty much one way to drive it. I think it's going to suit certain cars. I'm not going to commit to saying which cars I think will be, but from personal experience, the Mercedes is a handful around here. I think there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities. Like Marius says, it's going to be full-on commitment. You're either super fast here, or you are, struggling fighting the car. So.
And the Mercedes-Benz haven't been too bad. Cuddly, he said I should pronounce his name like a cuddly bear. Cuddly is in the Mercedes, and so is Jason Webb, and both of them are in top, as far as I know, top 10, or at least top 15. So the Mercedes isn't doing too badly, but the Porsche, as difficult as it is to drive around here, is apparently the quickest car here.
But hang on, can we not put Jason Webb in there and talk about a difficult car to drive? He's used to going sideways, looking up the side mirror as a drifting champion. So for him, a Merc that's lively in the rear end is not going to engage him. I think that's probably why he chose the car.
Maybe he told me he likes the front engine sort of format versus the rear mid-engine setup.
Well, think of his drift car, the Mustang. I mean, that's exactly what he's tossing around. Weight in the front and driving the rear. But I think what you're going to want to go for here is a car that is very neutral in terms of how you set it up. Because this is, again, it's not a sprint race. So you want a car that you can really put it on its line and get it to turn and stop as you want it to, without having to concentrate and work too hard. Because, like we said, there's no margin for error. It's a very narrow circuit. What I love, even though, it's been 35 years since Formula One has been to Zandvoort. Obviously, things are a little bit screwed up now with COVID. But they would have had their first race kind of now, around about this time. Force these guys to go and take out the gravel sand traps and go and put down concrete. So
I'll be honest with you, Marius, I don't know how they're going to get Formula One cars around this track. I have no idea. It is so bumpy out there.
Yeah, but remember, this is what I actually chatted to Jonathan about a little bit earlier. What we're running on and racing today isn't the new 2020 Formula One spec layout. There were a couple of changes be made. And crucially, I mean, the places that they made the changes were turn 3, Hugenholz, where
Yes.
they've actually made it a little bit wider, so two cars can actually come out of there onto the little straightaway section, and that final turn.
The thing is, they haven't changed the curbs though. That's what I'm scared of, because those curbs are gigantic out there.
Yeah, look, I mean, again, we don't know. You driving it in this current setup, so we haven't actually got to see what it looks like from a Formula One new layout. So those changes. I mean, the final turn when Formula One cars get to go around here, it's got a 21-degree angle bank curve, so it literally catapults you down down the main straight. So there will probably be some changes made to the curves. The guys can take a bit, but they've tried to widen some sections to allow for guys to obviously have a go and be committed from a move. But I think this is very much a follow my leader circuit where strategy is going to be critical. In our racing, we don't have that. GT3 cars can go wheel to wheel, and that is what you're going to see here. Formula One, I agree with you. I don't think it's the ultimate circuit for a Formula One car, but it's fantastic for a GT3 car.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's it from us for now. We'll be right back after this break. Marius, Jonathan, we're going to catch up with MSA. Marius, you caught up with some people this week, I understand.
Yeah, listen, I had a very cool chat with Vic Maharaj. I mean, I've known him for years, and obviously he sits on the committee with Motorsport South Africa, and what is so cool is MSA is looking at sim racing in a really serious way now in terms of legitimizing what this is. But it was also cool just chatting to him around the technical side of sim racing and how far it's got. And for him, obviously owning race teams, and he is an engineer himself, that was what I wanted to chat to him about, just understanding how far the level of setup has come in the game. And there's opportunities for guys that aren't just driving, but also for engineers to learn a thing or two. So this was our chat with Vic. It was very cool.
Vic, just MSA's position on sim racing. Obviously, you guys are partnering with us on the series. That's a big step forward.
We believe it is a valid arm of motorsport. And the reality is, at the end of the day, for us, the greatest success story would be, as we say, we get the crossover of Joe Public from the sim racing world into the actual racing world, and similarly with the engineers. And if we can somehow facilitate that process, that would be a massive step for motorsport in general and MSA. And yes, we do acknowledge that it is an important facet of motorsport. But yeah, the thing is that we're always being asked the question as MSA, when are we going back racing? And the reality is we're trying to get back there as soon as we possibly can, based on government directive. It's a fluid situation. It's changing nearly every day. We're on it, and we are cognizant of the fact that SMEs are the lifeblood of our sport, and we need to try and ensure somehow that they survive. And the reality is that we are engaging with the FIA on an ongoing basis, FIM on an ongoing basis, to try and just make sure that we get back to racing. I think we want to assure our membership that we're doing everything in our power, and just going to be patient with us, because at the end of the day, as soon as we know exactly what's happening, we will communicate it. What actually prevents us having a race at Kyalami and having an e-sport race at the same time, doing the same event and replicating the event?
Well, I mean, look, that is the plan with the series, is that, we started the first round at Kyalami, and the 12th round will be at Kyalami, and the idea is that will kind of coincide with the Kyalami 9-hour. Obviously, it won't be a 9-hour race, but that is the plan. Have you watched any of the online sim racing? Have you watched any?
Yeah, I watched. I got the links for the event. It was very impressive, very, very impressive, and the production is slick. It's really, really cool, and I think that's an important thing as well.
It's TV. I mean, that's what I've realized now. I kept saying, like, if your kids walk past and glance at the television screen, they say, "Oh, Dad, there's racing on." I mean, that's where it's got to. And I think that's what I was saying earlier. It's no longer this closed community of gamers. The minute that COVID kicked in, and you've got Max Verstappen and Kelvin, those sort of guys racing, you have a look now. They've got the proper commentators that are doing the commentary with the international races, and they're producing it like a proper TV show. It's actually it's unbelievable.
And we are back for the ATK Pro Series. And what you see on your screen there is the rankings for the Pro-Am category. And right at the top, Marius, is the man, the young man, the 12-year-old, can you believe it, Junior McCall.
Yeah, listen, he's backed up a great outing at round 2 weeks ago at Silverstone with that runaway victory. But I think what's going to be burning him the most, and he's got to get this out of his mind, is that he was literally, I'm thinking 6/100ths of a second off of qualifying and seeding for the pros.
Yeah.
So it was that close. He's the only guy you can see that's actually got it into the 35s. So that's another great result. But I think now he's just got to focus on scoring points again, having another good race, getting a win here, and worrying about what happens at round 4 later after this weekend.
Behind him, Brent Lindsay Ray. Now, he didn't race in the he seeded before. He didn't seed before. He didn't race before he registered, though. And I think this is his first race with us in second position in this category. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, it's cool. And he's coming with an Aston Martin as well. And I've seen the Aston seems to be doing quite well here. It seems like I mentioned earlier, you're looking for a car that's quite consistent in how it handles, and I think the Aston certainly provides that. So it'll be nice to see how he goes. But, again, I mean, this is the seeding rounds. It all comes down to qualifying. But it's names that we're seeing doing really well in the previous rounds. The guys are all there. And we've got a good mix of cars as well. There's a Lexus there, 1 or 2 Bentleys, a Ferraris, there Lambos. Even old Cornet Strauss, you'll notice, who was pro last week, 2 weeks ago at Silverstone in the McLaren. He's now obviously finding himself in a Pro-Am race in the McLaren. So a real nice variety of cars. So it might be quite interesting to chat to the drivers afterwards, try and find out which car works best around Zandvoort.
I spoke to a couple of guys, and one of those guys was Jason Isherwood, who is a previous winner in this category. He's now running way down the grid there in 15th position, and he's in that giant Bentley. He said the car feels the weight transfer. He likes the weight transfer, but not at the circuit. He says usually he likes the way the car feels, but at the circuit, it does feel like the sudden shift in weight. It's not ideal. So maybe again we'll see a Porsche. I think we're going to see a Porsche Audi battle today.
But I'll tell you what would be good. I mean, if he can really give himself a super aggressive setup, that car on pole, I would want to be in a Bentley leading out this race, because no one will get past you. You put your car in the middle on this narrow circuit, and you are the world's greatest bus stop. I mean, no one's going to get past you.
A beautiful bus stop nonetheless, but still a bus stop. Jason van Rooyen and Dale Smith further down there. A bunch of guys that we've seen do quite well in the previous few races. Noor Hendricks, another one in the Ferrari, doing a 1:36.6. And I tell you, I've done a couple of laps around here. A 1:36 is an exceptionally fast time. And as you said, there's only one person in the 35s. Up until position number 17, all the guys are in the 36s. So we might have some close racing in the AM category again.
Yeah, if you look down there, Renault Adrian's right at the bottom at 140. If you then look at the seeding runs for the pros, that puts him 6 seconds off of our fastest pro, is obviously Zaire Essa again. So it's quite a big gap. But you're right, there's a lot of battle in that midfield. Everyone's super, super close. And I think that's what we expect from the racing year as well. It's going to be a lot of follow my leader stuff. The guys have said it's also kind of tough to go door to door. It's easier in real racing to go door to door, because obviously the game puts certain parameters in that prevents that. So it is going to be tricky. And like we said, the guys need to be clean. They need to be decisive. This is not a race that you're going to go for a Hail Mary move right in the beginning and hope to win. But we're talking seedings. Qualifying is still to come. It's going to be very interesting to see how the guys go.
I am so excited for this qualifying. So excited. We're going to have to wait and see. After this break, we will be back with qualifying. We'll be right back. And we are back. The guys are currently going around the circuit in qualifying. Qualifying has started. Marius, I'm so excited. Finally, we get to see these guys turn some fast laps. And in the front, we're currently on routes in the Audi. The guys are just trying to get some clean air now to make sure that they can get away. But finally, we've got some racing going on.
This was quite cool. I'd like to bring in the conversation we were having during that ad break. Nice to see some new sponsors joining the series as well. But we're talking about, Ernest, you've done a couple of laps in the Audi. You've done in the Porsche around here. Jonathan was saying, like, the Porsches are kind of tricky. The Audi's well balanced. I think the Aston would be another good car to go in. What was your experience around here, Ernest?
Well, the Audi was definitely the easiest to drive, simply because it's a way more balanced car. It can take the bumps up better. It absorbs the bumps really nicely. And I spoke to one of our quicker guys, Jordan Sherrod, and he was telling me the guys are actually using the Motec software to check the damper setting. If you get the Audi just right, you can make this a very smooth car around you. Now, the Porsche is fast, but it's so tricky to drive there. So I don't know how these guys are going to do with the kind of pressure they're going to be under. So I'm quite excited to see what's going to happen, because I think today this is not going to be a processional race. The guys might be behind each other, but I think positions are going to change often.
Listen, it's quite, you're talking about the Motec systems and getting setups. The interview that played out there with Vic was obviously about MSA's position in sim racing and how they view it. But one of the other interviews that I know the ATK guys have put on their social pages was around the race engineering side of it and how much detail goes into setup. And I actually challenged Vic to actually go and spend time on a Assetto Corsa Professionale and try and see what the difference is between a car that they would have set up for Kyalami and the car in the game. Because
and what was his feedback?
Well, he hasn't yet, so that was my challenge to him, because I think there's opportunity not only for drivers here, but also, like he said, for engineers to come to a series like this and say to the drivers, listen, I'm a proper race engineer, let me help you get your car set up for the sim racing. And I know that's what Coach Dave Perrell does for a lot of the guys. He helps them getting their setup right, because guys that don't race, they'll never know. And what you've said here, on a bumpy circuit like that, your damper settings and your rebound rates are going to be critical, because you want a car that's going to be stable under braking. There's huge elevation changes here as well, and that is where cars get very, very twitchy. When you off camber on a corner, coming on the brakes, or you lift off the gas, the rear snaps on you. This is what makes this a driver's circuit. I'm amped for the main race, but qualifying you've got to get through first, you know.
So we're on Jason Isherwood now in the Bentley, and like I was saying, I was doing some laps on the Sims and using the products that our sponsors provide. You know, we got Elgato, we got AMD, and we got Corsair. These are the companies that are making this event possible. And I was gaming. It felt so real, man. It just felt so real. The graphics are so smooth. The textures are so good. This is what, you need the peripheral components to make this kind of gaming possible. And now I can sit in my lounge with a steering wheel and a TV setup and feel as if I'm racing a GT3 car. It's fantastic, man.
Yeah, or you can sit in your lounge and commentate on racing like you are at the track. It's like it's still that one thing that blows my mind. It's actually really, really amazing. But I'm looking at those times now, 1:36.6, not bad. Still 15 minutes to go in the session. We know that Junior got a 1:35 in seeding yesterday.
Junior just goes in front. Junior goes in front of the 1:36.2 now.
Yeah, he's getting close to that time. It's just interesting. You look at, Formula One was last year, 35 years ago. Back then, the circuit had 19 corners, but it was still 4.2 kilometers, and it was actually Alain Prost with the lap record of the 1:16. So it's like
but they've changed this track a lot over the years. They've changed this track many, many times. And like you said, even now for the Formula One coming up, they've changed it again. I'm interested to see what the racing is going to look like. The times, I think, I was watching the seeding yesterday, and the times might stay similar. As long as everybody behaves, because it looks, even now, it looks quite busy out there.
Yeah, I think it's also quite a difficult track. Like, when you're doing your qualifying run, you mentioned it earlier about giving yourself space to find some clean air and get yourself into the zone. There are a lot of blind rises here and corners where you don't see the brake marker, and the last thing you want to be doing is chasing some guy. And I think on certain circuits like Silverstone and Kyalami, it's a lot easier to give yourself space to drop back and get a clean circuit in front of you. But there's, especially on the back section of this track, there's a very tight and technical section. So, through there, you want to really be not worrying about any other cars around you and just focusing on getting your lines right for qualifying. And
Well,
it's tricky, 4.2 Ks, but it's an interesting layout because you don't feel like you've got space.
Such an interesting layout. It threads itself around all the time. You could lose time on the first corner and it's over. The lap is done because the rest of the sequence follows on from that first corner. And it's very impressive to see the faster guys do what they do. As we see now, Junior McCall still up front with Walker in second and Leon Leroux in third, because it's such a difficult track to get a decent time on.
Yeah, I just love, turn one, Tarzan corner. I mean, there's so many stories about how it got its name.
Yes.
But it's such a great name. And obviously with that corner being banked as well, I mean, you look at a race and you know, any time off a start line when your first corner involves heavy braking, which this one does, into what is essentially a hairpin, there's going to be chaos. But because they've banked the curb, I mean, there's an opportunity to overtake around the outside.
Yeah.
So it does. That is probably the main place to overtake you. Getting that long run down the start-finish straight, and then obviously turn one is where most of the action is going to be. So I think the drivers now need to be thinking about that post-qualifying, getting into the race thing. That is a place where it's going to happen. So get your drive out of the final turn 13 right. Make sure you've got good run down the straight, and then worry about turn one, because that's the safest place in my opinion. I think
just as you said, there's somebody goes off on turn 13.
No, one of the Bentleys by the looks of things.
One of the Bentleys goes off on turn 13, and this is exactly it. That was Van Carlen, looks like it. After that corner, it's a beeline towards this corner, turn one, as you were saying earlier on, as we look at Eckhout now. He goes off on the Audi. But that turn one over there is so critical. And some of the drivers are saying that at the start, the pole positions actually starts on the outside of this corner, which gives second place the opportunity to get the run into the first corner. So maybe starting on pole at the circuit isn't ideal. It's such a weird.
Yeah, but I think this is now what's interesting here is the guy that's I'll tell a little bit of history here. There's a corner. There's a corner here that the guy that actually used to run and look after the track actually designed Suzuka. So if you go to turn 3, Hugenholtz, John Hugenholtz was the former director of the circuit, and he actually designed Suzuka. Now, if you look at Suzuka, you remember all that controversy years ago with Senna where they moved him from one side to the other when he qualified in pole. There is not great grip off the racing line here. So even though they've put you on the outside in pole, that is where most of the grip is. So anybody starting on the inside, even though you think you've got the inside into that corner, you don't have any traction or any grip on the inside on these type of circuits. And that's what makes this such a beautiful track, because
really
there is an opportunity. Inside is obviously the easiest way to go, but the guy starting well on pole is going to have the launch off the line and be able to close the door into turn one. So
well, speaking of pole there, this pole position just been snatched early on by Leon Leroux, and now Junior McCall's in second. Oh, Junior McCall takes it back. McCall takes it back with a 136.147, and now 7/100ths of a second behind him is Leon Leroux.
Yeah, they're getting close to dropping into that 135 time, which is kind of what the pros were running. So this is a very, very good qualifying session. The guys are certainly going neck and neck. And I think that the guys don't have to worry about it. And this is, I don't like bringing up doom and gloom, but quite a few drivers have lost their lives over the years racing at the circuit because it is so unforgiving. 2 of the corners are named after guys. So Wim Gerlach, which is turn number 2, has a corner named after him. And then obviously Rob Slottermacher, which is turn number 5 as well. Both of these guys, racing drivers had lost their lives around this track. And that's always the risk with the old circuit where there is no runoff. You make a little mistake and, the walls are right there. So in sim racing, you don't have to worry about it. There's going to be some damage, but you're going to be fine sitting in your lounge and playing on your simulator. But it kind of gives, for people that might be watching for the first time, just puts them in perspective that this is a serious track that is hectically unforgiving.
Yeah, that is one of the major advantages of sim racing, is that danger aspect is not there. But when it comes to the race and the way it's been set up here, as we hop on board as we look at Junior McCall, this game has got damage set into the game. So any mistake that the driver makes, they pay for in the race. They're out of the race. There's no reset button. There's no bouncing off the wall and rejoining. There's none of that. So the guys do tend to take the racing very seriously. As Junior McCall goes into the 35s.
Wow, yeah, he's done it. I mean, he's very, very close to his seeding time that he got, because that was a little bit quicker. I think it was a 1:35.98.
Yes.
So looks like he's actually gone quicker here now. So that's actually flipping good timing. I saw yellow flags being waved as well, so there might have been a bit of an incident just in front of it that we missed. But it's a good point, Ernest. You know, if this isn't gaming, this is simulation. So the whole idea is to recreate what happens in a race environment. If there were no damage controls, the Oaks would just free fall and not care. And I think that's what's so critical here, is you're approaching this like a proper racing driver would on the circuit. So I think there'll be a lot of nervous guys coming into the race, because I think this track is a track that most people probably don't spend a lot of time on the circuit, because it is a difficult track. Everyone goes to the tracks that they love. So I think this is kind of like we've got to know race Zandvoort. So I think the guys are going to be a little bit anxious come race start time.
Yeah, exactly. It's really a case of keeping it on the black stuff today. And Ecout, Craig Ecout goes into first position in the Audi. He keeps it on the black with a 1:35.9. Was that a wow I just heard?
It's a flipping great time, that, because I mean, we said they were so close. Junior was so close to qualifying for pros, and these are sort of times that the pros were running. Obviously Zahir was doing a low 1:34s as the fastest, but you know, it's so close to qualifying for pros, so the guys are running some really good pace. But I'm loving it. Look at the lineup we've got there: Audi, Porsche, Aston, Bentley, Ferrari in our top 5. We haven't had that before. So we were all kind of predicting what car is going to work best around here. Well, now we're a little bit buggered going,
It looks like everything. I mean, and we've got the Lexus down in P7. That's close enough to be considered there. Lambo maybe a bit further down in 12th. Mercedes isn't even featuring on this grid, is it?
Well, we've got at least two in the pro category. So we should see a couple running there. I just think a lot of guys didn't opt for the Mercedes this weekend.
Well,
they don't have a choice
for the season
Mercedes,
entries. For the season,
Yeah, the Mercedes is a bit of a dark horse in the well, you know, the guys are very scared to commit to that car right now.
Which is, you know, Jono, it's so interesting though, because if you go to the proper GT3 series, I mean, you look at Intercontinental GT Challenge last year. If it were not for a flippin' stupid little mechanical failure on the first corner of the Kyalami 9-hour, they were the guys to beat. Was Raffaele Marcello's team, you know, and with Mauro Engel, and that was the car to beat, because it was the most consistent.
Well, funny you mentioned Raffaele.
Maybe it's just a setup thing that they've obviously got right, that the sim guys haven't got their head around yet in terms of managing that car, but they loved it as a driving car because they thought it was so well suited to all conditions.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe you know, there is something in this sim that maybe doesn't reflect in the real world, in that the Mercedes version that we have here is the 2015 spec. So I don't know if maybe there have been updates since. I know there is an Evo spec Mercedes which isn't running in all the GT3 classes. I think there's only in Asia and stuff where they're running the new Evo spec. But I think that the guys are aiming for the 2019 spec cars in this specifically.
Well, Bruno Cadley, he races the Merc in the pro category, and he was telling me that Marcello, that's the driver you were speaking about earlier on, he actually races online with that guy. And the feedback that he got was that it is different. There are major differences. The Marcello wasn't able to be competitive in the sim, even though he's a works Mercedes driver. There were glaring differences for him.
I'm glad you brought that up, Jono, because I mean that's something that I didn't realize. You know, I assume these are cars that are kind of 2019 spec, what the guys were racing last year. So that's very interesting because that explains it. So the guys that are obviously familiar with the Assetto Corsa and have been playing this for a long time, they know this. You know, for us as outsiders, I'm looking at it from the real racing and what I see on circuit, and I know which cars the guys want to spend time in. It doesn't always relate on the gaming front. So thanks for clearing that up, because that makes a massive difference.
As we watch one of the Ferraris through the roller coaster there. Oh, he runs wide. You can't touch that grass on the outside there. That's a bad idea. And that completely throws the line off. Any mistake like that, where you touch the grass, completely throws the line off on this course. It really is like threading a needle the entire way through.
You know what I'm loving though is that, you know, I know Kyalami so well, and I feel like on the game I don't get an idea of the elevation to the same extent. Whereas watching Zandvoort, I'm getting a real feeling for the elevation changes and the dropaways and the off cambers. I'm thinking, geez, if it's like this on the game, how much more intense is it going to be in real life? You know,
that hill looks very steep.
Yeah.
And as you said, remember the mine shaft? We spoke about that. The mine shaft in real life, it's a climb. It's a hike.
It's like, I mean, we've all gone and spent laps around Nürburgring in games, and then when I got to do laps around the track for real, nothing can prepare you for the changes. It's just unbelievable. You know, chatting to my cousin years ago, I mean, he raced in the 24-hour, Mike Briggs, and he was saying, you know, sometimes during a race you have that moment where you just kind of, where am I again? And you're coming up this blind rise and you're going, is this the one that goes left or the one that goes right? You know, you put your foot flat and fully committed, because it's that tricky. And you get the same thing here. You can't, you're not looking from one corner to the next. You can't see it. So you really do need to know the track well, know the subtleties of where the line is and where you can push margins and what bit of curb you can take. And that's what makes it such a difficult track to get right.
Well, that corner we just saw now is for me one of the absolute most, it's one of the trickiest corners I've ever seen. You come over this blind crest, you've got to keep the car to the far left. If you touch the sand like we saw earlier on, it's a problem. And then as the car gets airborne and on your way down, you hit the brakes hard and tuck it in tight to the right. And you see any deviation from that is just, you're either off the track, crash the car, or you lose a lot of time.
Well, you see, that's what's so interesting now, because this whole thing is built up from turn 3, and that's where the FIA have made changes for Formula 1. So that Hugenholz, you can now go, it's a little bit wider, so the guys can come out onto that little back straight section.
This is the section you're talking about over here.
This is where we mentioned earlier, this is where the guy actually died, Rob Schlottermacher, and that's why that turn 5 is called. It's that right combination, and then you go heavy under brakes for Schleifer. So it's a very, very technical and tricky section at the back that requires massive commitment because it is blind. But I can't wait to see this when they actually race here, because that was the final turn 14 onto the back straight, and that is what I want to see with that banking, because apparently the guys reckon it is nuts. 21-degree banking, so it's like the old Monza circuit. So you can imagine you're going to be foot flat and just get catapulted down that track.
In game, I don't feel much banking there at the moment.
It's not.
Yeah, so they've changed it, you say, for the new layout. Okay.
We were chatting with Jono earlier about it, and that's what I'm saying. The guys are not, what you're racing here is not the current 2020 Zandvoort Formula 1 circuit. There have been changes that have been made that have made it better for wheel-to-wheel racing for Formula 1. But in particular, I mean, I was reading an article of Max Verstappen. He was the first guy to do laps, and he said that corner is unbelievable. And they've actually gone, I mean, it's interesting. It's now called the Arie Ludenday corner, because Arie was like the Flying Dutchman. So he's won Indy twice. He's in the Hall of Fame. So they've gone and banked it like it's, I mean, the banking's better than what you find at the Indy 500 at Daytona. So it's like, you can imagine going through that as a driver. It must be amazing, because you literally just peg it and go.
There's so many banked corners here, and the car really gets sucked into those corners because of that bank. Similar to a local corner, another one of our local corners, turn 5 at Kyalami. This first, the first turn here, as we now go onto the main straight, the first turn reminds me of turn 5, because you're approaching this corner and it's a banked approach. As you can see in the distance over there, the corner is completely banked and hard on the brakes into this banked section, and any deviation from the ideal line doesn't work. The car gets thrown off up over the edge, or you get into a bit of a slide on the exit. It's extremely tricky, and this sets you up for this next section over here, this right hand over here over the hill, and then into the sharp again bank corner. As you can see, Junior McCall there runs wide, and that there would lose him at least half a second. Just that little mistake.
This is a section you were talking about, yeah. Here's where the commitment is, because it's blind as you come over this, and this is going into the Slottermacher corner, so it's at right, left, right, and then heavy braking right here, and it's so easy to get that wrong. And look there, if you make a mistake, there's no concrete runoff, you're into the sand trap. So one mistake there, miss the breaking point, you're in big trouble. But that's
that
like
corner is a
qualifying.
heavy commitment, yeah.
No, big time. But that means like qualifying done. So Junior has kind of backed up what he did in the seeding runs yesterday. So he's really on a roll after winning in Silverstone round 2. And nice to see the Audi in second place there. So that's also looking very, very good. Craig doing a great job. And Ricardo Francola, which, I mean, I think he was in the pros last week, if I remember correctly, in the Bentley. And he's obviously showing his pace, sitting in third position now. So it's going to be a good race.
Such a good race. Junior McCall going almost half a second faster there with a 135.5. Fantastic pace from him. 3/10 behind him is Ecoat, and there's a Bentley number 3. That's good to see. Bentley, Aston, Lexus, Ferrari. This is going to be a nice little mix. This is going to be a fantastic little mix. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this.
Yeah. Siege. Riley. Taz. Yeah. Set me free and give me death, there ain't no other choices. When I lay down and go to sleep, I keep on hearing voices. Little whispers in my head, man, is you fake or loyal? Find no water, death is sign, baby, pick your poison. These little demons living underneath my bed, creeping. Know the real monster lives above them all, sleeping. That subtle breathing in your closet every single evening. Thought you never see me again, looks can be deceiving. When they hear the sound of the drum, they'll be saying, oh Lord, here they come. Yeah, here we come.
We take play seriously. That's why ATK chooses Omen by HP and Windows 10.
Here we come.
And we are live for the start of the race. 30 seconds to go before we get this first Pro-Am race going. Oh, Marius, can you feel the excitement in the air?
No, well, I'm just excited about it. Have a look. 1 to 6, all different manufacturers. Porsche, Audi, Bentley, Aston Martin, Lexus, Ferrari. Hallelujah. Try and pick a winner here today. I think it's going to be crazy. Jono, you said your money's on who?
I think Eckert. I think he's going to. I think his tires are going to last a little bit longer. McCall's looking super fast though. Van Coller also looking super fast. He's in a good car too. Oh man, I don't know.
Let's wait and see. We got seconds to go. Here we go. Off they go on the formation lap.
I mean, Ernest, we were all sitting and bantering earlier about how amazing Tarzan corner is, turn 1. Yeah. And how important the start is. And I can promise you, these oaks, no matter how much you try and calm your nerves down, I can see it's going to be chaos into turn 1. Everyone's going to be trying to get as many moves as possible. But I predict, Jonathan, you're going to be watching around about 12th, 14th places where the chaos is going to happen, because the oaks get sucked into the car in front of them and they'd miss their braking points. And that's always in a heavy braking turn 1 off the start where you have the chaos.
After turn 1 is the section of the year. And even here, I think the guys are going to make a lot of mistakes. Sorry, Jonathan, you were saying?
No, I think the midfield is going to be super tight on these first couple corners. Very tight there. The guys need to slot in behind each other, and that's where the real trick is going to come into, and where you'll see the class of the drivers come in, where you want to make up 5 positions, but this is not the time or place to do it.
Oh my goodness me, it's all about the risk versus reward. And
no, I'm missing Tasman. Tasman, go for it, dude. Lunge into turn 1.
This is not the second to be lunging on the first lap. It is not. And offline, as we said, there's no grip. And there's a couple of corners where if you don't get the line right, you literally just get spat off. And what I also found was, if you're following someone, it's very easy to follow someone off the circuit as well. If you ride up behind someone.
I'm looking, especially because of the up and down, and I'm looking forward to see that all-wheel drive Audi. Like we said, it's in P2, so you would think it's in the right side of the track, so that's correct for the first right-hander, but we know the best grip levels on the circuit on the outside. But it'd be interesting with that all-wheel drive.
Well, just to be clear before
off the line.
Yeah, just to be clear before you continue along that train of thought, is that all these cars are rear-wheel drive, even the ones that are four-wheel drive in real life.
No, man.
So they're all to the same GT3 spec where they're all rear-wheel drive. Yeah, they just got different configurations of.
They're pretty much
engines.
quite similar. The gearbox is the same on all of them, if I'm not mistaken. Is the gearbox standardized on these cars?
But
I'm not certain on that one.
You've just gone and ruined 2 races of commentary for me now completely, because at the end of the day, like, that is where the balance of performance comes in the proper rating, is to kind of balance all of that out. Turbo versus naturally aspirated rear-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive, you know, so it's actually
Audi's biggest advantage away from them. Oh, here we go.
I'm grumpy now. That's it. I'm going to be quiet.
Here we go. Junior McCall, lead. Echoed in second place. Van Coller third. LaRue fourth. As we make our way down the main straight, the guys are lined up side by side, nose to tail. The lights are about to go out. We have green light racing. We have green light racing. The Porsche in front tries to cut across there. Eco holds the inside line, and Eco takes first position. The Porsche slots in behind him. Van Coller in third place in the Bentley. Still LaRue still in fourth position, fighting off there.
Chaos in the back, as we predicted.
Couple of cars below. Couple of cars below. As you see in the mid back.
No, Jonathan, you see, that was all-wheel drive. No ways. Look at the good drive he got off the I mean, you saw Junior.
Here we go. Here's the replay.
Yeah, Junior tried to close off and go defensive straight away, but that Audi had a great start, and he actually got that start perfect. He wasn't too far back in the box, because we know from the previous races now.
Yeah, it is possible to push that a bit. Yeah, and so, that Audi just shows how balanced it is, and you know, it is very forgiving. So cold tires, cold brakes, you could do that.
Now's the time for the Audi to try and get that little gap going. The Porsches are, as you say, a little bit more skittish, especially on these cold tires. But from what I've heard from drivers such as Essa, one of the fastest guy in seeding, he said that the Porsche actually gets worse as the fuel load decreases. So now once the tires get warm, the car's going to be on pace, but then it's going to get...
Rickard's outbraking himself big time. Yeah, tricky, eh? It's so easy to miss the brake points here because of the change in elevation. It's I love it.
The brake marker over there is a line across the circuit, and then there's a little curbing on the left-hand side, and there are 2 lines there. So it's quite easy to get confused between those lines, especially in the heat of the moment. One little mistake and that happens.
These guys have kind of opened up a hell of a gap because of that little mistake by Richard Van Coller dropping him way down. So that's kind of given them a bit of breathing space already after 1 lap. So this is great for them, because they just want to get their head down, get themselves into a rhythm. Rhythm in a 50-minute race is critical. You want to get into that zone and just get on with it. You don't want to be worrying about your mirrors and who's behind me and who's trying to dive me. But, you know, I think these two showed the pace early on. There's a bit of work for Leon LaRue in the Aston. You can see him dropping back a little bit in third place now. But like we said, it's a long flipping race, and I'm sure we're going to get some replays from what we predicted was going to be midfield carnage into turn 1 off the start. Very, very tricky and easy to get sucked into the car in front of you.
Yeah, that midfield giving our man Jonathan something to do now as we watch Junior McCall. And I think now the move, as you said, Marius, the move now from Junior McCall, hang back. He's clearly got the pace on everybody in this field at the moment. So if he can hang back in second position, he has a look down the inside there. Junior McCall doing no hanging back now. It goes down the inside. Can he do it as they make their way now to the Hans Ernst section of the old Audi S's? It's a right hand and then a left hand. And Junior McCall has another look down the inside. He's not holding back, Marius.
But you know what? That's what I'm saying. He actually can't afford to, because we've spoken about the tire wear in the Porsche. That it does not get any better. The Audi is going to be a lot more consistent. So what Junior needs to do here is get past Craig as quickly as he can, get into a comfortable rhythm, and keep a gap and start preserving tires. So he can't afford to sit behind the Audi, because he's not going to have a car that's going to be on pace with 15 minutes to go in the race.
See, I'm going to be like our friend Tasman and disagree with you on that one, because I would have thought they'd want to get away from the rest of the pack and not get into a tussle. But I get what you're saying.
No, he's got to make the move. He feels that he's quicker than Craig. He's got to get past and get going, because that Porsche is not going to get better later on in the race from a tyre wear perspective. The Audi is so much more forgiving on its tyres. So I think that's what he's trying to do. Junior's trying to get that move done instead of settling into a rhythm and saying, oh, no. Yeah, we're going to have a look at that chaos from turn one. We've got a full replay so the guys can hit go on that anytime they want to, because that's going to be interesting to officiate. I think when we do our replay catch up on incidents is going to be very interesting.
Okay. This is total carnage there. A whole bunch of cars crashing into each other there.
You know what's quite interesting though, Ernest? I mean, I thought the chaos was going to be under the braking on the entry into one, but I mean that looked like a Ferrari losing it on the banking of Tarzan corner, and then literally causing the domino effect. So it wasn't actually under braking like I thought might happen. So the guys did well through there. But check Junior. Junior knows he's got to get this move done now. He feels he's got the pace. And from what we've seen with Junior, I don't think he's a guy that wants to stick around. I mean, he got a clear gap in Silverstone. He ran away with it. Kyalami, when he was dealing with a bit of pressure, he made a few mistakes. So I think he wants to get this thing done. He's 12 years old. Listen, patience is not something 12-year-olds know about.
Indeed, I was speaking to him earlier on. I spoke to his brother, the other McCall brothers in the pro class, Byron McCall. And Junior is, as you said, 12 years old. He's the younger brother. And him and his older brother.
I should hope he's a younger brother. I mean, there's a guy younger than him racing. But a 6-year-old, look at him go.
And he's showing good pace, they say. They say that he's going to be hopefully a future racer, and hopefully they're going to try and get him into a kart or something later on. His older brother, a former development kart racer. So it's in the family, and Junior, as you said, he's someone that he wants to hustle, he wants to get past.
It's going to be quite, just while you were talking, I just see that the new guy who we hadn't seen before, Brent Lindsay Ray, and the Aston has got a drive through. Or it did come up, it looks like it's been removed now, so maybe when Jonathan gets back on comms, we can find out what was going on there, because he's obviously checking out all the incidents and dishing out time penalties or drive-through. So we'll see what happened there. Because
if there was a drive-through, it wasn't me.
Oh, okay. So what was that the game that implemented that?
Yeah, that would be game implemented. Was it Brent Lindsay
Ray? Yeah.
Okay.
Any idea what that would be for cutting corners, maybe consecutively, or?
Cutting corners will give you a stop-go 30, if I'm not mistaken. But definitely game implemented, and he would have cleared that himself through the pits.
Yeah, we saw him go through, but I mean, normally you've got like 3 laps to do your drive-through penalty. He's taken it straight away. I wonder if that might not have been an error on the start. Maybe he got himself, it's his first race.
Maybe out of position. Yeah, that's very, very, very possible. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's quite a tricky thing to get right if it is your first race. We saw Kelvin van der Linde a few weeks back when sim racing with the real racing drivers kicked off. He raced at Kyalami using a set of course, and that's where he got himself into trouble, was under the restart of the race. So
it was such an exciting event that I know the guys were looking forward to racing against him, and he was looking forward to racing. But the game is so strict when it comes to those things. That's the end of that.
But here's the section. This is that the Slottermarker corner, heavy under braking here. Get it wrong, have a look at that. You're into the sand dune. No dikes.
That's it. Both of them running a little bit wide, and that's the problem. If you're not in that groove on the right-hand side, you're going to run wide, and that's giving McCall an opportunity now as we go on board into the tight right-hander. They're going to aim for that ambulance on the right-hand side over here, and then tuck it in back left, cut across, want to grab a little bit of curb on the inside there, and now run wide. Apply the pressure.
It's one of those nameless corners. It's literally a hairpin left. It used to be called the Vodafone corner. It's got no name now on the new circuit. I'm sure that'll change. And like you said, this used to be the Audi S's. That's now called the Hans Ernst corner. So a lot of changes, and it's quite nice because it opens out so you can get on the power a little bit earlier. That will be one of the changes that has been made for Formula One, because they've widened that exit so the guys literally can get on the power a bit earlier and line themselves up for this catapult down the long straight.
That last corner it's possible to go flat out there if you get it right, but if you're out by half a meter on the entrance to the 2 corners back, it doesn't work. So it's just one of those corners where it's this constant apex sort of single long corner as we go on board with Clint, as we watch Clinton Riddle in the Porsche in 13th position. and
Yeah, we saw-
not total Porsche domination today. Eh?
No, and that for me is very exciting to see, because I mean we've kind of thought, oh well, that's how it's going to be for a while now. We actually saw Walker up ahead when we were on board with Clinton. We saw running a little bit wide and then exit onto the straight, bit of dust that got kicked up. So that'll obviously excite Riddle looking ahead, knowing the guys are just ahead of him, gives him something to chase, and then obviously Skitter in the Ferrari as well. So there are nice battles. The guys are all quite evenly spaced, like 0.3, 0.4 of a break throughout the pack. And we knew they'd settle into that rhythm, 5 laps down, 40 minutes to go in the race. And I think this is what's critical. Get a rhythm going and keep yourself as consistent as possible. The opportunities will come in this race.
Exactly, as we see Wood now putting some pressure on Buck in the Ferrari. Finally, we're going to see some action. It's such a difficult place to overtake. I do think it's one of those places where you can force an error. And looks like Julie McCall has forced that error up in front. Julie McCall's taken first place. If we can, Julie McCall's taken
back.
And he's back. He's fallen back. Well, we've got some racing
back
on our hands now. We've got some racing happening here today.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a replay of that, because we did miss some action there. But I mean, that's good. So that's going to go back to Craig's fighting right back. But that's what we said. They've got to go for it. Yeah, I know it's a 50-minute race, but at the end of the day, you can see, have a look how close Leon Leroux and the Aston Martin is now. So these two guys are actually slowing themselves up big time. And it's now, Leon's got the bit between the teeth. You guys go and fight about it, and I'll just put in a couple of good laps. And he's dragging Bernard with him as well, King, in the Lexus. So this is awesome. Look at the different lines on that exit coming out of there. It's amazing.
So exciting. Now, this is the thing. This is what I was saying earlier on. If they'd have just gotten away, they wouldn't have had this problem now. And now they're both facing the pressure of
there's a replay. So it was through the S corners that he got the move back. So that was well done.
Now look at Leroux spying that they just did a 38. Oh, Junior goes down the inside. That was a risky move over there, especially at that spot. Leon Leroux now starts to catch up. Junior McCall still having a look down the inside, as you say, the nameless section over here by the ambulance. And the Audi in front, Junior McCall chasing him down, but Leon Leroux watching on, hoping for either a gap or a mistake as they make their way now towards the Hans Ernst S's or the Audi S's. But will this be Audi's S as they make their way through now?
Well, listen, that was good racing by Junior and by Craig, because they kind of gave each other space. You saw him coming, they gave each other space, and that's what we want to see in the racing. You've got to have a go, but you've got to obviously be aware of what the guys are doing around you as well. So that was really good racing to see.
Exactly. Bernard King also now sneaking up to the party in that Lexus over there. What? This is what we've come to see. Top 4 guys. Number 5 also. We've got Van Coller there in the Bentley. Top 4 guys within half a second of each other. This is racing.
Look, I mean, Coller will obviously be grumpy. Remember, he was sitting in 3rd position and he made a little mistake, outbraking himself in that tricky right-hander on the back section. So he's got some catching up to do, but this will make him very, very happy. He's in with a shout. The guys are having a proper dogfight up front, and that's just going to suck him into it as well. But this is great racing. I mean, I'm very proud to see how these Pro-Am guys are actually going about it, because there's some good racecraft, there's some good patience. Very, very well done.
Yep, well done indeed. And let's see now what's going to happen. They've got 37 minutes of racing left. That's still a lot of racing to go. Still plenty racing to go. So now's not the time to get too excited. What do you think is going to be the move for Leon Leroux at this stage, Marius?
So I was just actually quite cool looking at the live split screen footage as well, because Walker and the guys in the Ferrari were having another ding-dong good battle to watch there as well. For me at this stage, for Leon, he's got nothing else to do. Yeah, here we go. Back on the action with George and the guys in the Ferraris. And
this is getting interesting over here. This is getting very interesting. George, they're taking on Walk in that Ferrari. Oh, that Ferrari does look good, though. I love the livery on that Ferrari. It does look good as they make their way now towards the S's again. Easy. This looks like a spot where you can have a look. It's been done before. The guys have overtaken there. But unfortunately, no move getting made that time.
Yeah, but what's critical is, I mean, and that's the nice thing with, remember, just before that, you've got that nameless hairpin left. It used to be the Vodafone corner. So if you want to get a move done at the Audi S, Hans Ernst corner, you're going to have to get your exit out of that hairpin and nail it perfectly. And then you've got a legitimate chance through there. So
look at this. There's a gap.
Taking done.
Look at there's a gap now. George has now managed to eke out a little bit of a gap. And if he can keep that gap, he'll be okay. But let's see Walker was there with Ika the gap. If George can catch up, we'll have to see. But the pressure is so on. You cannot make any mistakes. And George, though, now getting pressure from Mumford as well.
I'm just having a look up at the top. So there's like 0.1 between Junior and Leon. So we saw, I mentioned it earlier, that Junior struggled a bit being put under pressure at Kyalami, made a few mistakes. And where he was now putting all of the pressure on our leader Eckhout, now the pressure's back on him. So I'm sure when we go back to that race, you'll have a look there. There's a lot of battling going on there. There's nothing in there.
Top 5, there's nothing in it between that top 5.
Yeah.
Even King, Van Coller, they're all up there.
Yeah, Van Coller managed to, as we go now, and
got a back marker in the Lambo.
Van Coller managed to sneak up onto the back of this train over here, and he has literally got a front row seat to anything that's about to go down right now, because anybody here makes one mistake, there are going to be dire consequences for at least 2 cars.
You know what's great? You know what's great about this is that no one can actually focus on the car in front of them at the moment. I mean, I guess the guy with the best seat in the house now is Craig. He's got an open track. Oh, big accident at the bottom. That's coming out of the final turn onto the start finish.
One of the Bentleys has to take a void.
That Bentley would have crashed as well, I'm sure. No, he's back on the track. Wow. Big off there. You don't want to be getting it wrong there.
But fastest part of the circuit. He's fastest corner, yeah.
But what I was saying, like, have a look at what's happened now for Craig. He's got a clear track in front of him. That's all he's got to focus on. But all these other guys are having to watch the car behind them. They can't focus on the car in front. There's a proper train that's formed, and everyone's looking to have a go.
There's the Bentley over there limping its way around. Oh, that's the Audi. Sorry, that's an Audi back marker. And that's the other thing about this track. It's so short.
I mean, it's
so short that it's possible to catch up to the back markers quite quickly, which we've now seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, at 4.2 Ks, of course, not the longest, but that's not the shortest either. You know what I mean? Like, you think of what Swartkops is. You know, I mean, it's like it's half the distance of this track. So it's not bad.
These cars are so fast, though. I mean, 1 minute 30 is a very quick time on any circuit. And I think just the fact that if the guy's 5-10 seconds off the pace, which we've seen, you know, it's easy to start catching up to the guys. And I think at the end of this race, and especially in the pro category as well, I think that's going to play a role as we get nearer to the end.
I also reckon this track has that feeling, just for us sitting as commentators, there's no break. The driver doesn't get any downtime here because it is narrow, it is up, it is down, it's braking, it's left, it's right. There are some straights, but there's not like one hell of a long straight. He's got a good opportunity here. Junior got a good drive out of that final corner, so I'm expecting to see Craig go defensive. Shut the stop now. He's got to cover. I just think that the lap just feels so quick here because you're busy.
Audi runs wide. Audi runs wide.
Oh, that's going to excite Junior.
That's going to excite him a lot because now he's going to be able to catch up as we head through towards that hard left-hander. If he catches...
Craig did well to correct that because it's very easy to have gone off the track there. He actually did very well to get the car stopped. He kept it in a straight line, got it stopped, and then turned. A lot of the times the guys will panic. But this is where, for me, Junior is the quickest, is through this really tricky, committed part, the technical section for me with that right, left, right, into this back-end section when the guys start turning around to head back home. That is where that Porsche just seems really, really well set up. Maybe he's just... there's no fear in the 12-year-old.
None whatsoever. You know what? I thought that would be one of the tricky sections for the Porsche, but he seems to have that car really well set up for that section, as you say. And now he's right up on the back of that Audi. When is he going to make the move? I think that the risk to make a move here is very, very high. And Junior's weighing those risks up, and he seems to be a different driver from what he was at round 1 at Kyalami, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you know what you've got to start doing now? I don't know, for anybody that's watching the stream for the first time or joined the Pro Series for the first time, there are 12 rounds, but obviously the drivers get to throw away their 2 worst rounds. So, for a couple of drivers, this is their first race in the series. So basically, they've lost that opportunity. They've now got to score points all the way through. But Junior's been consistent. So for him, you also want to have a consistent, good race here. So there's still lots of time, 31 minutes to go in the race. It's about making sure you score points every round. Obviously, in the Pro-Am, only the top 10 guys are going to score points. So you've got to make sure you're there first, and obviously first prize is next round at Paul Ricard to try and be in the pros because you're going to be scoring more points. But Junior wants to just keep ticking over and scoring as many points as possible, not doing anything stupid. It's a very, very it's an interesting combination. I love the way they've set this up, that every round is a seeding round. So you're not guaranteed because you were pro in the previous round that you're pro in the next round. I think that makes it really exciting for the drivers. It keeps them sharp round to round.
Well, the guys have to fight for it at the seeding rounds, because what I've noticed over the last 3 rounds as well is that certain drivers are getting faster over the weeks. So certain drivers that might not have seeded for the Pro-Ams, or not even seeded well in the amateurs, are now starting to creep up the amateurs towards the Pro-Ams. And the guys are practicing more, they're committing more time to practice and getting faster. As Junior McCall has a look down the inside once again at the S's.
Yeah, it's tricky because I really do think, this is probably a good place. He's looked here a few times as an overtaking opportunity into the Hans Ernst corner, but he's also outbraked himself quite a few times when he has tried to commit for it. The last 2 laps, he's actually hit that brake marker perfectly now. So it feels to me that is where he thinks he's probably got the best opportunity. It looks like the Audi is able to defend turn 1, Tarzan, pretty well. So I don't think this is going to be the place for him. I think it's through this back section that he starts getting really, really quick and starts getting sucked in. I think that is going to be where he's going to look to make his move. But things seem to have settled down. Everyone's kind of kept that gap. We have a look at Richard van Colle. He hasn't got any closer. Things have stabilized now with 12 laps down. We thought we were going to be in for a big grandstand battle, but everyone seems to have settled down in positions 3, 4, and 5.
Well, Junior McCall made a mistake into turn 1, but look how easily and quickly he gets back on the back of this Audi.
This is his quick.
This is the section he goes down the hill. Audi runs wide. Junior goes down the inside. Junior makes a mistake, touches them. I think they touched.
That wasn't Junior's mistake there. Literally, the Audi ran wide. He came back on the track and made contact. But again, well done to all the drivers there. That it didn't end up in tears. Everyone backed out and gave each other an opportunity. But look now, Leon LaRue's under big pressure because he had to take avoiding action from Junior, who was all over the track. And Junior spun.
Junior contact between the Lexus and Junior. Oh my goodness, what went wrong there? The nameless corner claimed some names there. Junior McCall now back down to 5th position. The car looks okay.
Perhaps the tire's starting to feel it a bit at this point on the Porsche. I don't know. But, mistakes will happen. And, big props to the guys who have to avoid these situations. And they've done well so far.
Very well. Exceptionally well.
But, Jonathan, just having a look there, that wasn't his error that started this whole chain of events. So he's looked like his tires have been good. It was actually Charles up front that made the error, and I suppose then Junior loses his rhythm for a bit, and that's what we spoke about. They've all got a good rhythm going now. One little incident, you kind of lose your mojo and your vibe, and you end up making a mistake at the hairpin left-hander, and that's what's dropped you back again. So, it's tricky, but good driving by the guys, giving each other space. Nobody getting turned around facing the wrong way, and they're back to race again. There's still plenty of time in this.
Well, Ika's still smiling in first position. You were saying, John.
So let's have a look. I think we've got a replay of Junior's spin. So that would have been at that hairpin left, old nameless Vodafone corner. I loved your analogy. So I think this was the area where Charles ran wide. Oh no, there. Oh, he actually went up. Again.
I think Junior touched him on the inside there.
That was him having a full. I'd love to see it again. That was him having a full go.
He was having a full go, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong. It's a pity that it ended that way. We want to see these kind of battles, but him having a nice go, I think he was feeling racy at that point.
I wonder what happened on the previous corner. I don't think there was contact there, but that downhill with the Porsche, if you lift off the power there, the car does tend to rotate a lot.
Yeah,
so
but
if he backed out when he saw the Audi going off or coming towards him, that could have been a problem either way.
Yeah, but Ernest, if you look at that, I think Charles came back on the track making a correction, and Junior actually corrected to avoid. That was big contact there.
Yeah,
with Goodell. But just to finish that thought there, and I think he actually had to make avoiding action not to smash into the recovering Audi, and that's what put him on the inside on the grass and started that whole comedy of errors. But
man.
tricky.
What a pity. But McCall's still in 5th position. He's 1 second behind King. And if he's 1 second behind King, that means he is maybe starting to catch up to that pack a little bit. Let's see, he would be a man on a mission now. If that car's in a good condition, he is a man on a mission right now. Jason
running wide, Van Rooyen exiting, Ferrari swapping positions there. I do think there's going to be some talking points around Junior's attempt at that hairpin, because again, it's very tricky. We didn't get in that one replay to see how far up the inside he was for Charles, but Charles obviously took his normal line, and that's where the contact came. So it'd be interesting to view that again, because that's again one of those tricky situations where, you know, the driver in front, Charles needs to go, okay, the guys come, I need to leave him the space, because that hairpin is one of the places where you can go 2 cars through it. So that'll be interesting to have a look at that on a replay. I'm sure it'll be in our discussion, Jonathan, next week sometime. We're reviewing incidents.
Yeah, for sure.
Moody.
Okay, let's have a look. I think we've got a replay that's coming up, so that'll help us. Let's have a squiz again.
Contact.
Oh, you see, we actually.
Yeah, you see, Echo did a fantastic job of seeing the attack coming. He took the necessary action to avoid the contact. There was still contact, but I think what happened was McCall made quite a leap of an overtake there, but he ended up on the receiving end of the band.
What's great for you, Jonathan, you'll be able to see all the angles, all the replays on that one. We can't see the steering input, but Charles definitely left him space, but we can't see what happened from the Porsche's perspective in terms of making the contact. Maybe he just lost a bit of lost it under braking perhaps, but well done by Charles. From what we saw there, he certainly did run wide and left him the space to have a go at making that pass.
Junior may also have smelt a bit of a window being left open, a gap being left for him. So it'll be interesting. Going to take a look at that again after, and I'm sure we'll cover that in our race review this week.
But we actually, sorry, I'm going Charles and it's Craig. Sorry, Craig Eckhart, you're doing a great job. Best I get your name right. I should be remembering this sort of stuff by now. But what has been interesting, which we've missed, is in all that chaos earlier, there's been a proper change around. Richard van Colle is back where he was at the start of the race in 3rd place. And we obviously, Junior's got an opportunity now, then Lexus being the sandwich in that little battle that's developing quite nicely with Bernard King. So this is looking like a good battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Well,
position up for grabs.
Bernard King's going to start getting pressure from Junior McCall, no doubt about it. He's going to start having a look to see if he can start catching up with that lead back. Clearly the faster guy here today. Oh, and Bernard King running wide there, and that's the problem. We've got an Audi spun out. That's Ika. That's Craig, the leader.
As I was apologising for getting his name wrong and what a great drive he's having, I've gone and cursed him.
The commentators cursed Max again.
Jeez, I don't know what's gone on. I don't know what's happened there, but I mean, this has really thrown the cat amongst pigeons. When I got an Aston Martin leading, Leon Leroux, that's kept his nose out of everything, just gone about the business, not been involved in much, avoided the incidents when he's needed to, has been gifted a race lead. 23 minutes still to go, and I reckon, Craig will probably slot back in. There he has in 5th place. So still time. He can still correct what he's done wrong, but he's going to be cursing himself for a lap or two. Hard to get yourself refocused. I don't know if Bernard saw that happening, and that's why he had a bit of a moment going into turn 1. Because remember, we wondered what he was doing, and then we saw the Audi recovering. So I don't know what happened.
Now Leon Leroux's opportunity. Leon Leroux's pace, 136.6, I think it is not too shabby at all. If he can put his head down and start knocking out some 136s, low 137s, I think he could start pulling away from this group over here, because Junior McCall is going to be harassing the back of this Bentley and Lexus over the next couple of laps, and while he's doing that, Leon Leroux could be getting away.
Yeah, we saw him having a go. I mean, that was the corner that he always seemed to have liked, was the Hans Ernst corner, the old Audi S. He had a good go there, but Bernard did a great job defending that line on the exit, because it's a right-hander at 45 into like a 180 long left-hander. So your exit out of the left is more important than the entry into the right. So very, very interesting to see the different approaches to that corner. But he did well defending that. And Junior's got to do some refocusing and get back on the back of this battle.
Definitely not out of it yet. He's right back on the back of King. And I think with 21 minutes to go, that's practically half the race. I think he can do it.
You know what's cool, Johnny, you know what's cool though for Craig is that he was sitting at 5.5 off. He's now down to 4.8. So he's closing a gap. If these guys keep battling, here's the replay of what happened to our leader, Craig, going into Tarzan corner, running in. So he's running in a little bit hot.
Oh my goodness.
That is just ever so hot,
That's the thing. It's only a little bit. That wasn't. He didn't come in 5 k's an hour faster. That was just a smidgen, as you said, ever so. What a pity.
Do you recall a few laps later when he outbraked himself and Junior was on his back? And I said what he did well is he didn't try and turn the car. He just thought, let me just brake it in a straight line, run deep, and then do the turn. It looks like, he tried to get the turn done, and that's just what saw him losing the rear end of a rear-wheel drive Audi. Yeah, they're not running in the all-wheel drives. Lesson learned, Morris. That's really opened this race up. But what I was saying is actually, I thought he had closed the gap, but he's dropped back now to 5.3. But if these guys keep battling in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, he's certainly in with the chance.
I think the tires are starting to go off. That corner that he spun out on is at that spot to spin out there. It is very, very unusual to spin out like that.
King having a go on Rechard, great move. Going for the safer inside option and getting it done, and Rechard doing well there as well. I mean, saw him, turned and kind of left him the space. So good racing from these guys. And we know Rechard, we were discussing 2 weeks ago, there were a couple of incidents involving him from Silverstone, and that was good racing there. Well done.
Rechard's still having a look there. I'm sure he believes that he's at least as fast as Van Kalla is over there, or at least as King is over there. And Junior McCall still watching on from behind him. I was thinking he'd have made a move by now, but he does seem to be just hanging on to the back of these guys. He does probably realize there's 20 minutes left of racing.
You know what we're worried about? I mean, I think we've seen Junior just make one or two mistakes. We know this is quite a tricky place to get a pass done. So I think he's got himself involved. Oh, there's a little tap on the rear of Rechard there. So I think he's got himself involved in a few going for a move and not working out. You see him giving back that position. So that for me is exactly. He actually went and tapped Rechard under braking, put him in a spin, and looks like he's done the right thing. They're giving that position back, which is exactly, that's mature. 12 years old, getting your head around that. So really, really well done. But that's my point. He's in with a shout, and then a little mistake gets made on an overtake move, and that's what's ankle tapping his progress at the moment.
Yeah, still lots of time there. Oh, as Eckhart goes off there, looks like it. One of the car went off just behind Junior. Is this Eckhart catching
Craig.
up? No. Craig is now catching up to Junior McCall. Can you believe that? Craig, a man on a mission after making that mistake in turn 1 earlier on. I spoke to Junior's dad earlier on, and he calls himself their PR, the McCall brothers PR. And Junior is, as you said, he's maturing very, very fast. He's learning very, very fast, and made a couple of mistakes today, but he definitely seems to be coming back. And the car's still on the track, the car's still fast, and he's still in contention.
Oh, look, Byron Walker, we've got him just behind there in the Ferrari in 6th place. He'll be obviously loving what he's seeing up ahead. Obviously, between that, it looks like we've lost the Audi. So Craig has gone and made a mistake. Have a look, Craig's dropped back. So Byron's actually got past him. So Craig's gone and made a mistake again. And I'm assuming it would have been into turn 1 because we saw him coming onto the start-finish straight and he was ahead of the Ferrari. So it looks like there was an incident into turn 1 again by Craig. So he's obviously feeling a bit of pressure. But Rechard, well done. There we go. Junior, I think, has got it done now. Oh, he's leaving him space, going around the outside. This is the hard thing to do. Well done, guys. Good racing. Rechard is ready. Oh, as I say, well done. They're going door to door, but Rechard's really outbrake himself. Junior's got to have him here going into the Audi S. He's got to have him under brakes. Well done. That's good racing. That for me is maturity. Like we said, that hairpin, the nameless hairpin, used to be Vodafone left. 2 cars can go through that corner side by side, and then you get a proper short run on that straight to the Audi S. And that was a perfect example there. He took his time, stayed on the outside, knowing that he'd have the inside through that 45 right hand of the first bit of the corner for the Audi S. So good job. He's finally got it done. Now he can set his sights on getting after King in 2nd place in that Lexus.
That was fantastic racing. Now Junior McCall in 3rd position. The 2 drivers up ahead, there's a bit of a gap.
Yeah, here's our replay of Craig down at the bottom, screen again through turn one. Yeah, running in a little bit too hot, coming on the power. Yeah, same thing again.
Those tires might be off. If that's exactly the same mistake, it's an unusual place to make that kind of error. One of the other things about this game is that, Jonathan, you can confirm that I hit a bump the other day and the tire deflated. So
yes, if you contact too many curbs, you will start to get pressure loss in those tires.
Sure. So it's those kind of variables that can cause any sort of difficulty for the driver, and I think there might be something going on with Craig's car over there in that Audi.
I'm just having a look here. Byron Walker is loving this because Richard is outbraking himself again. Have a look, that's the second time. That's 2 laps in a row. That's what gave Junior the opportunity for the overtake move through this left-hander hairpin. Richard's gone and done it again. Maybe he's struggling to get that big Bentley stopped, but Byron is certainly in with a shout now. Sitting in 5th, this will be a great result for him. 4th place is right there, and in with a really good shout. And this will be his best results. I mean, I'm looking at the results from round 2. And he wasn't in the top 10, and yeah, he's in a good battle in 5th, fighting for 4th, and Richard certainly giving him enough opportunities.
Well, Noor Hendricks, the other Ferrari driver, has said that this course does favor the Ferraris more than the previous 2 tracks, and we've seen the Ferraris haven't done too well at the previous 2 races, but here it does seem to be a better car, so giving the guys a good run for his money, running as high as 5th place at the moment and looking at 4th. I think he's going to have I think in the next couple of laps he might be able to get an advantage over this Bentley. The Bentley's kind of all over the place at the moment.
Yeah, he's making a couple of mistakes, mainly under braking, and I think what Byron did there, which was so good, he showed him, he made sure that you can see my Ferrari is there, because I think it's very easy down that straight just to miss your braking point, run a little bit deep. So that's a sort of pressure. You don't necessarily have to try and make the pass through Tarzan turn 1, but you can certainly let the car know that you're there and hope that pressure will make them just miss the braking point, which is we've seen it happen
so many times over and over. He has a look at the back bumper of this Bentley. Big back bumper it is. They head through the right-hander now. They're going to get hard on the brakes in this tight right-hander now.
This is where he's been making his mistake. He's nailed it this time. Well done. Got that corner, nailed it. Perfect turn in. Sweet on the apex. So this is looking like a way better lap from Richard. Nicely done. So he's obviously likes the pressure because he's been clean now.
So far, no problems. Yeah, as we now head into those S's, will he be good under brakes? Walker just holding his own there. Walker has another look down the inside. Dives down the inside. There's contact. The Bentley gets pushed off once again, and the Audi has to take evasive action. The Bentley now facing the wrong way. Walker trying to do the right thing by waiting. But how long is he supposed to wait?
No, that was really unfortunate, because as we complimented Richard doing such a great job, it was actually great that we were on board with Byron, because you saw the frantic working on his hands. He realized that he'd run out of brakes, and now he's just trying to figure out where to steer that Ferrari. So, Jonathan, there'll be some more work for you on that for sure.
Yes,
and
unfortunately.
a real pity. We're seeing the Bentley pulling into the pits, because there was quite a hard bang. But what it has done is it's given Craig the opportunity. Like we said, you're in with a shout here. He's now finding himself back in 4th place, and we're on board with Sean Mumford in 7th in the Porsche, and just behind him, lots of battles going on.
Sean Mumford also saying that he's loving the way the Porsche is set up here. Difficult to drive, but he's happy with his pace. Running in 7th position now. Behind him is Walker in the Lexus, but actually on track it's the Audi right behind him here. Which Audi is this following?
Yeah, that's out of position though. That must be a back marker that they're making their way past. But you know what I've picked up? Just having a look now, in 19th place is Brent Lindsay-Ray. Remember, he came in really, first time we've seen him race, qualified very, very well, was quick in the seeding runs, and then got given that drive-through from the game. He was 60 seconds off of the lead, way down in last. So he's actually got really good pace, and he's finding himself now up in 18th position, which is fantastic. So I love seeing that, because in the real racing, you're not going to give up. And I think a lot of the time the guys can go, you know what, I'm out of here, hit cancel and jump out of the game. And you can't do that in the real world. And this is what we're trying to create here, is proper real racing. So well done to him. There's battles right the way through, and I think he's hoping to try and get as close to the top 10 as possible.
Yeah, we're on board with Lindsay Ray now. We just jumped off back onto another Aston. In first place, Leon Leroux in an Aston Martin. Oh, what a difference a day makes, eh? Leon Leroux now all of a sudden in front.
It's just bizarre for me because we had like a 5-way battle with all the cars kind of split by like 2 seconds, and now have a look at the gap. He's got a 6-second gap over Bernard in the Lexus, who's like a further 7 seconds ahead of Junior McCall. So this is actually, it's really settled down into a race that I think could stay like this till the end if none of them make silly mistakes.
Yep, well, Noor Hendricks better not make a mistake. Jason van Rooyen right on his back bumper. The two Ferraris battle it out. Jason van Rooyen is one of the cars who was involved in that first corner incident, if I'm not mistaken. The pink Ferrari, you can't really miss it. And he is absolutely on the back bumper of Noor Hendricks. And as I said earlier, Noor Hendricks also saying that the pace of his Ferrari is decent. So he knows that the Ferrari behind him is not going to be slow through this section coming up.
Yeah, I want to drive this track like on the game. I want to drive it for real, because this for me is, I love circuits that just have those serious big commitment corners where there's over that blind rise. If you're not 100% committed, Zolder is the same. There's a whole back section where it's also, you come up to this corner and it's like blind drop off to the left. I love the undulations built around the sand dunes. We've got someone running back. I think that was Riddell, or was it Wilt running wide at the back in the Porsche. But I love these circuits that are built around the natural landscape. It really creates some committed racing from a driving perspective.
Indeed, absolute commitment is needed for a lot of these corners. And that's the thing about commitment in a corner like that. You put your foot down, you've made the calculations, and now you've just got to go. And hopefully not have to make any adjustments. And can you imagine doing it at that speed in a car like this on a track with such high risk? It's just unbelievable.
But it's also, like the slightest little error, you're just a fraction off of the line through that corner, and it's unforgiving because the track is narrow, and then there's gravel, or there's a wall, or there's a barrier. So you've literally got to be so sweet. You can be committed. It's fine to be committed when you've got a parking lot to play. But you've got to be committed here and thread the needle, essentially. It's incredible. I love the circuit. It really looks good.
We're looking at Bellingen now, and he was doing so well in the seedings. 7th in the seedings. He's now running all the way down in 21st, battling it out with Kersop in the other Lamborghini over there. Such a pity. We've really seen a mix-up of drivers. The guys another one, Jason Isherbrook in the Bentley. He's in 19th position, and he's won this category before.
Just before we even get to that, I just see that obviously race control has gone and issued a 15-second penalty to Byron Walker for that contact and braking into the Audi S, into that right-hander when he ran into the back of our Bentley. So, yeah, I mean, that's not going to help Record at the moment. He's not going to feel happy about that because he was in with a good shout. We've got one of the Ferraris going off there. Who was that?
Was that Van Rooyen? That's Van Rooyen.
Oh, okay, Van Rooyen feeling the pressure and running off. So, yeah, I mean, 15 seconds, that's going to get calculated to his position at the end. But, I know Record's going to be grumpy about that because he was on for a solid race result. Remember, he raced in the pros at our last round in Silverstone, so was looking for a really good result here in the Pro-Ams and was on track for that, and Byron just outbraking himself. But penalties been dealt with, so well done to race control. It's the right call.
Yeah, these things happen, unfortunately, and if you've done a crime, you've got to do the time, and that obviously wasn't malicious. We saw that he tried to take evasive action there, but too little too late as we go on board with Dale Smith and the Lamborghinis, and the Lamborghinis really not doing well in this series, running 19th through 21st at the moment, the first of the Lamborghinis.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen too much, and again, I mean, they are running Hurricane. It was news for me about the different spec, like what Jonathan was telling me about the Merc, the AMG. We see the two of them making contact Lambo to Lambo. That's expensive. These aren't little city golfs, but and having another go at 3. I check they're not. That's always going to end in tears. When you start
that's always going to end in tears. That was not the place.
Yeah,
when you not the place.
Through a tight and tricky section like that, and you start tapping a guy on the rear wheel, there's only one way you're going to go, and that's the wrong way. So I'm sure there'll be some more work for Jonathan. That's why we haven't heard from him in a while.
He's too busy signing off papers over there. But that's exactly that. That's not the spot to be. Is this gentleman's surname Wid or Wild?
Wid.
It's Wild, yeah.
Is it Wild? Okay, so that is G Wild over there in the Porsche, chasing down Noor Hendricks, who was early on tussling with Van Rooyen, who's now fallen back. And
he was wild in round 1 and 2, and then he went to a double I for round 3. I prefer him as a wild driver.
Yeah.
It just goes a lot better. Weird is just weird.
Yeah. George Wild now chasing that Porsche down. And this section over here, as you're saying, it's so easy to make a mistake under pressure there. But these guys are all coping so very well with this kind of pressure. It's really impressive to see the caliber of racing that we see, even in the pro and professional. It's just impressive stuff.
This is basically where Byron is going to slot into in the overall results, is into this 8th, 9th position, because he's got enough of a gap there with the 15 seconds. So this is a good little battle for George to focus on, because there's no one in front of Noah, so he can have a full go. And is that not the 666? Is that the 666 Bentley in the back? I mean, Aston that I'm seeing in the back there. Who is that? No, that's Kutsia. Sorry, that's Kutsia.
Yeah, that is the race for position. So Kutsia is also in the mix here with these two guys.
But I'm not seeing Riddle. Where's Riddle here? Because we've lost a Porsche.
And the standings haven't updated yet.
So, you know what? That is the 666. I think they've obviously got a lap. They must have a lap on Brent Lindsay. I'm trying to see what's happening there, because why have we got an Aston sitting off the back of There's Riddle. I'm just trying to see why we've got an Aston sitting off the back there. It's Kutsia, but he was right behind George. Interesting.
That would have been the back marker. Okay, that would have been the back marker.
Yeah, I think it was the 666. I think it was Brent Lindsay Ray that's making his way back up through the field and doing a great job. Was last with that drive through. It is 666. Okay, so definitely. So that's our 17th place man. And the battle that we're busy looking at is for 9th position. So literally a lap on it. But this is interesting, because we saw Brent with massive pace. So he's actually quicker than these guys in front, because that's where he was running in the beginning of the race. Instead he got that drive-through penalty. So this is quite interesting. You've got a guy running in 17th who's going to overtake the guys that are battling for 9th. I love it. Motor racing is great.
What the stewards are going to say about this one, because he's clearly got the pace, as you said. But this is full position, and he's trying to outlap himself as they go through turn 1 now.
You know what would be great, which the guys won't know in the sim, because it won't allow them that. But I mean, race control, like your team would say, listen, just let this guy through, because he's actually not in your battle. Because what he actually wants to try and do is get onto the back of Nico Roots in the Audi. That's his battle. You know what I mean? So it'd be great if they just, but I mean, how do you tell two guys that are going door to door in the battle of their own to let a back marker through? Never going to happen.
He's going to have to overtake them fair and square, and this circuit is so tricky to do. He's going to have to start applying pressure to these guys, and technically he's not allowed to do that. Technically he's not allowed to get into too much of a dice with these guys. And the Porsche has a look down the inside, the Ferrari runs wide. Wild.
Yeah, Noah running very, very wide there. So that's the opportunity. The Aston's going to be through here for sure, unless Noah goes defensive. But we saw what happens. You can go around the outside on this hairpin, and that's what he's doing. So, yeah, Brent's got that one position done. Good job.
Well done. It was nice and clean racing. Unfortunately, Noor under the pressure there a little bit from the Porsche. And depending on Wild's pace. Oh, Noor has a look down the inside. What happened there? Noor had a look down the inside. I think he might have cut across the track there. Yep. Something went badly wrong for Noor there. The position gets given up by the Aston again, or by the Ferrari at least. Let's see now, Noor's in front.
Oh, but you see, I mean, he actually doesn't need to give it up, because it's not a battle for position. You know, it's a battle with a back marker. So very, very tricky. But, with 3 minutes to go, Leon Leroux, kept his nose out of stuff. There were a lot of incidents in front of him that he kind of took avoiding action for, and it's paid off, because have a look, he's got a 7-second lead. 3 minutes left in the race. This is a great result for Aston and for Leon. He's been there and thereabouts, but he's going to be super stoked with this. And he's got a nice buffer, like we said, 7.5 seconds. So our top 3 pretty much are safe. There's no one putting them under any pressure. So all they've got to do right now, wrap it up, safe in the knowledge they're going to be scoring some points at round 3 at Zandvoort in the Pro-Am class.
Yep, as you said, Bernard King running in second position. They're comfortably in second position. And Junior McCall, podium position, not ideal, because he was in it with a chance to win, but at least he's finishing the race, gets a valuable experience under his belt, and gets a 3rd place to boot. I think he'll be able to do that.
Yeah, he's scoring points. I mean, that's what you want. At the end of the day, this is a 12-round championship. So, you've got a race win round 2 at Silverstone, and you've backed it up with a 3rd. So, things don't always go your way. There's some incidents that happen, but in those tough races, to get a result and to score points, you've had a good weekend.
Yeah, I He's going to be happy with that. And one more McCall brother going to be racing later on as well. Let's see how the rest of the family does in the Pro Heat later on. But for now, we've got 2 minutes left racing in the Pro-Am as we go on board with Louis Kutsia in the Aston Martin. So smooth through this section.
Remember we said, like, what car would we want to drive around here? I know you've spent time and you just felt the Audi was so good, and I thought the Aston being such a well-balanced car would be good. And I mean, it's kind of shown it. We've got Astons kind of throughout the field, but it's where it counts. Number one, Aston Martin. So it seems to be a really nice car to drive. A consistent handler, which is what you want.
It look very consistently. It looks very consistent. The handling does look very consistent, and as he has a look down the inside of this Porsche over here. But that front engine layout will probably work very well here. It might not be the fastest, but definitely the more balanced option.
Yeah, there's still a little battle here. It's nice. I mean, a minute to go. Clinton Riddle's just up ahead in the Porsche, and could stay in the Aston. I mean, listen, he'd love to get into the top 10 because Noah Hendricks is in the last point scoring position. I'm just having a look. Well, actually, Noah's going to get. That's fine. That's where he's going to stay because 15 seconds for Byron Walker. He'll still stay in the top 10. But yeah, I think Kutsia would love to be battling for the final point scoring position. But we're on board now with our race leader. Go on the final lap with him. 33 seconds to go. Fantastic driver. He's going to be absolutely stoked. And I know this is the sort of confidence that a driver takes into Paul Ricard, our next round next weekend in France. Hoping to take that confidence into a seeding run that might seem up in the pros. I mean, that's where the guys really want to be, and he's been like a pro today.
He has. His racecraft has just been phenomenal. The patience, the timing, biding his time, letting the other guys sort themselves out. When the incidents happened, he didn't falter. He stayed out of trouble and has managed to build himself up a 7-second lead across the line, just against guys that were faster than him in qualifying and in seeding. Just phenomenal stuff on the under.
Well, that's what makes racing so exciting. I mean, it's 50 minutes, lots of laps, a lot of cars wanting to share the same piece of tarmac with you. There will be incidents, and it's just for you to kind of keep yourself consistent in terms of your lap times and end up with a result like this. You'll be super stoked. And have a look at him. I mean, on this last lap, he's smooth. He's nailing it. He's really having and like on a victory lap, you can start celebrating now because he knows he's got this thing in the bag. So well done. That's fantastic. I am really excited to see the pro race that's coming up in a little while because this was a good showing by our Pro-Am driver. Some real fast driving.
Yeah, Leon passing that the Porsche over there as he makes his way towards the finish line. Side to side goes. He's going to be happy with that. Leon Leroux is your winner in that Aston Martin over there. You called it, Marius. The Aston Martin is the quickest car in Pro-Am. It's the smoothest car and definitely one of the best looking cars as Bernard King takes second position and Junior McCall grabs the flag for third place. Craig Eckhout in the distance gets fourth.
Yeah, he'll be disappointed, but at the end of the day, it was a mistake that he made from leading the race with no real pressure, just outbraking himself. Yeah, right in that very corner going into turn one. But a good comeback drive for fourth. And don't forget, you'll see Byron Walker, obviously a little incident with Richard in the Bentley, which ultimately pulled into the pits, getting a 50-second drive through. So he should still score points. I think at the end of the day, he'll still be in the top 10. But Richard is the driver that can be the most aggrieved me today. Shame. Didn't work with a good job.
While these guys now making their way towards the finish line, Jason van Rooyen, unfortunately not having the best race. They're down in 13th position, but that's it. The results are in the bag for the Pro-Am, and we'll be right back after this to discuss those results.
Let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me
Now we're saying I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. All these men gonna tell you what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from a corner. So finally back in my home. I'm working and I start off this plan. Dance my soul, all in can't beat me up cause I'm back.
Having a great scrap, an almost banging wheel.
Welcome back, folks. This is what the podium looks like, and your eyes do not deceive you. The young man on the third place position there is Junior McCall, just 12 years old. What a drive from him. I know he was looking for the win in that Porsche, but gets third place, a good result either way. Second place, Bernard King, despite wearing that Ferrari t-shirt in that picture there, he was in fact driving a Bentley. But
used at that stage, decided to go with the Lexus at the end of the day, and he'll be happy because
Lexus, yeah.
go at Silverstone, finished in third, going one better, getting himself into second. But the man with the red face, and he's got nothing to have a red face, is Leon Leroux. He should be grinning from ear to ear in that Aston Martin, taking a great victory. Fifth in the second round in Silverstone, and where he wants to be, top step of the podium in Pro-Am. Next week, I think he'll want to be in pros.
Yeah, I think so. And what a fantastic drive from him. I mean, he played it well from the beginning. Let everybody else sort themselves out. The other guys made mistakes. He kept his nose clean. And when he got in front, he managed to pull an 8-second gap by the time it got to the flag. We've got Bernard King stepping into our virtual commentary booth over here for a chat soon, which is waiting for him to join us. Bernard King, our second place man in the Lexus.
Bernard?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Bernard, it's Marius and Ernest. Listen, can I help you, bud? Can I send you a Lexus shirt?
Dude, that would be super cool.
No, because I mean, I see you're obviously a Ferrari Formula One fan. Okay, well, why choose the Lexus? Why'd you go with that car? Now you've got to sit with it for the season, but it looks to be working for you. Third at round 2 and now second today.
Yes, no, it's definitely working quite well. It just doesn't like front tires. That's the only issue I have with it. But yeah, I don't know. I've chosen it for the other leagues that I compete in because no one else seems to want to drive it. So yeah.
That's cool that you're doing it and giving that sort of individual flair, because it is nice to see, isn't it right, Marius? It's so nice to see the different cars on the circuit, and I quite like the look of that Lexus.
It's my favorite car in the paddock. I mean, that and the Aston look really good. But Bernard, have you spent much time around Zandvoort? I mean, it's an old school track, lots of undulation changes and camber turn. It's a really tricky track to nail. You're obviously a fan.
To be honest, I haven't actually done that much laps on this track, but I definitely like the technical aspect of it. Yeah, I don't know. I think I quite gel with it.
but it must be quite difficult because I mean, halfway, probably about lap 12, 13, there was a 5-car battle. All of you guys were within 0.5 of each other. And it was really gearing up for, like, we thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. So hard on that back section of the circuit to follow another car because, so many of the things are blind. The brake markers are you don't see because you're going over a crest. Tricky to be on the back end of another car.
No, definitely. I think you can probably see me sometimes just looks like I'm having a look for a move, but I'm just trying to spot my markers because it's so difficult to follow.
Yeah.
And I think I actually only took a breath with like 15 minutes to go. That's how hectic this was.
Well, you can confirm that for us because we were actually sitting and chatting in the commentary. I mean, it's a 4.2K track, but it just, as a driver, you get no chance to chill. Because there's no long straight besides start finish. But I mean, once you go into turn 1, it is a proper roller coaster. There's no time for car to chill or for driver.
No, definitely. I don't even know how many times I blink per lap, but I think it's like maybe 2 or 3 times because as soon as you take your eye off the track, I mean, you hit a curb or you hit the sand and it's race done.
Yeah,
sure. Well, anyway, Bernard, well done on that second place. A fantastic drive, and it's really great to see that car out there. We're going to go on to the standings now and see where these guys fall in with regard to points. Leon Leroux, of course, snatching the 10 available points. Only points available for the first 10 position, with Nudrix getting their last point in the Ferrari. Well done to him.
Yeah, I just look at that. I think the person, I mentioned it just before we went to ad break as the race finished. I feel really sorry for Richard van Colle in the Bentley because he was in with a shout. I mean, Byron served his 15-second penalty, but he obviously still scored 4 points, finishing down there. So Rickard obviously scoring nothing, and he was in with a shout to be on the podium probably. So I think that was my hard luck driver for the day. And you see next division is pro, and I think that is where he wants to be next week, Paul Ricard.
Definitely the pro division, what the guys are looking at now. And as you said, unfortunately, there we got guys like Bellingen who did well before. Isherwood also did well before. And because the track is so competitive, the guys were quite stacked, I think, relatively stacked close to each other. So one mistake and you were 3-4 positions down. And that's what we saw happen over there with Van Coller in that Bentley, unfortunately, in it with a shot, and then next thing you know, it's over. But
Ernest, you said it though as well. I mean, Jason Isherwood, we're looking at him, he's way down, scoring no points, and we know how consistent he's been in that Bentley, but you said before the race, he was just struggling with how the Bentley was shifting weight, because that is what you're doing here. You know, your shifting of weight is under braking, or it's an off camber corner, or it's over a blind rise. So he just didn't feel comfortable in the car, and you can see it in terms of his results. But Brent Lindsay-Ray, the first time we saw him, great comeback drive, because he had a drive-through penalty within, I think, lap 2 that he had to take, so that dropped him right to the back. But to finish, I think that was a great comeback drive from him as well, so well done.
I was looking forward to seeing what Brent Lindsay-Ray could do in that Aston Martin, but I think we'll be seeing more of him. I'm very sure we'll be seeing more of him. Another driver that did well, Porsche drivers. We haven't mentioned the other Porsche drivers. We've got Sean Mumford over there in 5th position, looks like it. And just in front of him, Buck also in the Porsche. The Porsches, despite being difficult to drive, have not done too badly in the programs.
Buck and Mumford in 5th and 6th there. But yeah, look, I mean, we know when we go to pros, most of the pros are driving in the Porsches. We know in the Pro-Am, from what we've seen now over 3 rounds, there's been more of a mix-up in terms of manufacturers. So it's really hard to predict. The pros have obviously chosen the Porsche because they believe it to be consistent across all circuits. But like we heard, everyone's struggling with tire grip, especially on a circuit like this that's old school, going to be a little bit more abrasive. But I just love the fact that in Pro-Am, it's not just a Porsche Cup race, you know, that we're actually seeing Ferrari with Byron.
Fastest lap with a 136.984. So there's a little bit of consolation out there. He was the top qualifier for this session. He's the fastest out there. I mean, it's something that he can take away from this, especially as a young man at just 12 years old. It's something he can take away as consolation today.
Yeah, I looked at when we saw the seeding results for today's racing, and I was like, oh my word, he was 6/100ths off of the 30th fastest time, which would have seen him racing in the pros with his brother. There was literally nothing in it, and he was the only guys in Pro-Am to drop into the 35s. It didn't work out for him from a race perspective. You know, Silverstone, he got a clean break while the guys were battling, and he just put in lap after lap after lap. He could run his own race. Here, being a very difficult track to overtake, he got himself involved in quite a few incidents on the overtakes, but I don't mean like where he was at fault, just busy. It's a difficult circuit to get past, and I think that held him up, because I think, you know, he was probably in with a shot for another race win. So to come away with a third is really good, consistent racing on a tough day for him.
Well, we're looking forward to the pro races, and I think we might see a bit of a mix-up in the front of the pro grid, maybe some Audi action. Well, we're going to wrap this up for now. We'll be back for the pro race shortly after this break.
Yeah. Siege. Riley. Taz. Yeah. Set me free and give me death, there ain't no other choices. When I lay down and go to sleep, I keep on hearing voices. Little whispers in my head, man, is you fake or loyal? Find no water, death designer, baby, pick your poison. These little demons living underneath my bed, creeping. Know the real monster lives above them all, sleeping. That subtle breathing in your closet every single evening. Thought you never see me again, looks can be deceiving. When they hear the sound of the drum, they'll be saying, oh Lord, here they come. Yeah, here we come.
We take play seriously. That's why ATK chooses Omen by HP and Windows 10.
Here we come.